The rain had been falling for hours, soft at first, then steady, as if the sky itself had something it could no longer hold in. Inside a small apartment by the edge of the city, a dim yellow lamp flickered quietly, casting long shadows on the walls that seemed to breathe with every passing moment. Ion sat by the window, his fingers tracing invisible patterns on the cold glass. The world outside looked blurred, distant, almost unreal. Cars passed by like fading thoughts, and people rushed under umbrellas as if they were trying to escape something they couldn't name. He wasn't really looking outside. He was searching for something he had lost a long time ago. On the small table beside him lay an old notebook, worn at the edges, its pages slightly curled as if they had been opened too many times and closed too quickly. It had been years since he last wrote in it, but tonight something felt different. Tonight, the silence felt louder. He reached for the notebook slowly, almost hesitantly, as if touching it might bring back something he wasn't ready to feel again. When he opened it, a faint scent of old paper and forgotten memories rose into the air. The first page held a simple sentence written in soft, careful handwriting. Some people don't leave, they just become quiet inside you. Ion closed his eyes. And suddenly the room was no longer quiet. He could hear her laughter again. Soft, warm, real. Her name was Alina. She had a way of speaking that made ordinary words feel like poetry. She never rushed her sentences, never raised her voice. She believed that the most important things in life were meant to be felt, not explained. He had met her on a day just like this. Rainy, quiet, a little lonely. He had been standing under a bus stop, watching the rain fall in slow lines, when she stepped beside him, shaking drops of water from her hair and smiling as if the world had never been heavy. "You look like you're waiting for something that isn't coming," she had said, her voice gentle but certain. He had looked at her, surprised. "And you look like you already found what you were looking for," he replied. She laughed. And in that moment something shifted, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. From that day on, they began to share the quiet spaces of life. They didn't need grand adventures or perfect moments. A simple walk, a shared cup of tea, a silent evening, these were enough. Alina believed that love wasn't about holding on tightly. "It's about understanding," she would say, "about seeing someone completely and still choosing to stay." Ion had never met someone who made silence feel so full. But time, as it always does, began to move in ways they couldn't control. One evening, as the sun faded into a soft orange glow, Alina grew unusually quiet. They were sitting on the same bench where they had spent countless evenings, watching the sky change colors. "What if someday I'm not here?" she asked softly. Ion frowned. "You're here now, that's what matters." She smiled, but her eyes held something deeper, something fragile. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. Don't let your heart become a place of emptiness. Even if I'm gone, don't stop feeling." He laughed it off then. Because some things feel too distant to believe, because some truths are too heavy to accept before their time. Days passed, then weeks, and then one day, without warning, Alina was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence, the kind of silence that doesn't fade, the kind that settles inside you and changes the way you breathe. Ion searched for her everywhere. He went to every place they had been, called every number he knew, waited at the bus stop where they first met, hoping that somehow she would appear again, smiling as if nothing had changed. But she never did. And slowly the world lost its color. The rain became just rain. The nights became longer. The silence became heavier. He stopped writing, stopped feeling, stopped hoping. Because it felt easier that way. Because when you expect nothing, nothing can hurt you, or so he thought. Back in the present, Ion turned the page of the notebook. There were more sentences, more fragments of thoughts he had once been brave enough to write. Pain doesn't mean something is broken. Sometimes it means something was real. He swallowed hard. Another page. Not all endings are meant to be understood. Some are meant to be carried. His hands trembled slightly. And then on the last page, in handwriting that wasn't his, there was a message. He froze. His heart began to race, because he recognized it instantly. It was hers. "If you're reading this, it means you're still holding on to the silence I left behind. I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye. Some stories don't get the ending they deserve, but that doesn't mean they weren't beautiful." Ion felt his chest tighten. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't look away. "You once told me that you were afraid of losing things, but love was never something you could lose. It changes, it transforms, it becomes something quieter, but it never truly leaves." The room felt smaller, warmer, full of something he hadn't felt in a long time. "I didn't disappear because I wanted to. Life has its own ways of taking us where we need to be, but I need you to remember something. Your heart was never meant to become a place of silence. It was meant to feel, to break, to heal, and to love again. A tear rolled down his cheek. For the first time in years, he didn't try to stop it. Don't wait for me in the past, live in the present. Because somewhere in some quiet corner of this world, love is still waiting for you, just like I once did. The page ended there. No signature, no date, just words that felt alive. Ion closed the notebook slowly, pressing it gently against his chest as if it were something fragile, something sacred. Outside, the rain had begun to slow. The city lights shimmered through the wet streets, reflecting softly like distant stars that had come down to rest on the earth. He stood up and walked to the window again, but this time he wasn't searching. He wasn't waiting, he was simply looking. And for the first time in a long time, the world didn't feel empty. It felt quiet, but not in a lonely way. In a peaceful way, as if the silence no longer carried absence, but presence. As if somewhere in the spaces between his breaths she still existed, not as something lost, but as something that had become a part of him. Ion took a deep breath, and let it out slowly. The night was still the same. The rain was still falling, but something inside him had changed. Because sometimes healing doesn't come from finding what you lost. It comes from understanding that it was never truly gone.